Hello and welcome to Crusader Kings 3, an introduction. So today I'm taking a beginner's look, if you will, into Crusader Kings 3 and what it's about, how it plays, that kind of nonsense. A little disclaimer, I was given the key by Paradox a couple of weeks early, which I'm massively grateful for. I've played around in it off and on for a little bit. It's not going to affect my opinion on the game. I'll try to give as much as a balanced and transparent opinion at the end of the video as I can, because I like being honest about these things. I'm generally not going to accept something unless I believe in the product itself. So anyway, enough rambling. I don't have masses of experience in Paradox Grand Strategy games. I played a little bit of Crusader Kings 2, but I kind of stepped away from it because of the fact this got announced and the release date got announced very quickly. So I wanted the nice new shiny one because who doesn't like shiny things? I will stop rambling now. We're going to get into the first bit, which is what it's all about and why we should be playing it. So what is Crusader Kings 3? It's a grand strategy game by Paradox, and it is set in a medieval setting. You could pick either an emperor or a king or a queen or lord or lady or whatever. And the aim is to make sure your dynasty lasts throughout the ages. You can do it various ways by taking territory, forging strong alliances, those kind of things. There are two different time periods, which is 867 and 1066. Each has three subcategories. These are purely just to point out interesting leader choices during your game because of various different events that are taking place at that time. I will be choosing the player's any ruler option in 1066 and choosing a lord from the Byzantine Empire because, to be quite frank, that's who I've been practicing as for an event. And we will be having a look at the little, well, it's not so little world map in just a moment. So as I mentioned, the world map is actually fairly large and there's quite a bit of choice on it, which is really nice for going for multiple different playthroughs and giving you a nice bit of variety. We are the Duchy of Drakion, which I've probably butchered that, and I apologize massively to anyone who might know how to say it. Each character starts off with, I think, 3 personality traits. Now these affect the gameplay, giving you various different conversation events that will pop up. They give you different bonuses to various skill points that your character has, even affecting money, affecting people's opinion, and going as far as affecting religion as well, which is quite an interesting thing. These are something that I really enjoy personally because there's an absolute ton of them. And I mean, there's too many for me to list. These will have varying effects. Some of them are all positive. Some of them are entirely negative. And some of them are quite balanced, which is rather nice. But I think now we will get on to having a look at the character screen in the actual game itself. Right, so as I mentioned, each person also has skill points. These are in diplomacy. They are in intrigue, stewardship, learning, and martial. I actually managed to remember them all off the top of my head. Diplomacy affects certain types of schemes, which you will be initiating with other leaders or other members of your family, which are somewhat more moral than the other schemes that you can do. Then martial is to do with your military strength and how much of a bonus that you give to your troops over varying terrain and certain situations. Stewardship will affect your taxes and the amount of land you can actually hold. Intrigue is about making sneaky, stabby, seducey type of plans against enemies and family members, which are really quite fun, and that's probably what I've enjoyed the most. So I think that pretty much covers everything about your character and about the choices that you can make and that kind of thing. So we're going to move on to the next section, which will be about combat, which I've had quite a few questions on from various different people. So I'll try to answer this in the best way that I can. Right, so the next section, to battle, the combat mechanics of the game. Essentially, you have armies that you can raise as being a lord or king or emperor or whatever, called your levies, which will increase in size if you have more territories or if your marshal is doing a good job at organizing the levies and increasing the number. The more important factor of your forces, though, is going to be the men-at-arms regiments, which are single units or single regiments, I should say. So it's a single group of 100 generally for like foot soldiers and that kind of thing. It's less for siege equipment. I haven't looked at cavalry, so cavalry could be less as well. But these troops are going to be the backbone of your army. They're going to increase the strength and the quality, which is the most important thing about them, of the forces that you have. There's another determining factor, which is your knights, which, depending on who you've chosen, they will be called something different for each region. The better quality knights you have, as in their prowess, so their effectiveness in battle, will also boost the quality of your army. Now, it's not simply a case of just having a bigger army than your enemy. You need to have a well-rounded force, which is of a really good quality. So things like if you have an army that's entirely cavalry, yeah, that's going to be good. But if the enemy has a lot of pikemen, you're in trouble because they don't have an advantage against the pikemen. So you need to balance things out. You also need to take things into consideration like terrain. So if you're fighting across a river or if you're fighting on hills and you are the attacker rather than being the defender, you will suffer a penalty to your attack. But the good thing is, if you have got a well-rounded army and you have got really good quality, you could probably take on a lower quality army that is about double the size of yours and still win, which is a really nice little thing. In this, I'm also sieging a castle in Rashka because that's all I needed to take in order to capture the land. So in the bottom of the screen, you can see the 3 little horseshoes, which is showing the progress of my war with my enemy. Once that hits 100% from sieging the city or from winning battles or taking important points, I will be able to enforce my demands, which means I will just take the territory. It'll all be mine. Sometimes you have to sue for a white piece, which means you don't gain what you wanted to gain, which is kind of frustrating. Or you might have to surrender if you misjudge the situation gravely. So with that being said, I think that's pretty much it. We're going to now jump into the next little section, which is the council and lifestyle traits. Right. And on to the last section, the council and lifestyle traits. So essentially, the council is a very important part of running your kingdom, domain, whatever you want to call it. The first thing you'll see in the council is your wife. She's able to help you in a specific area, which will give you a nice little boost to that little skill. So say, for example, my wife in this game was good at stewardship, so I got her to manage domain, which of course helps with taxes. You can get her to just assist ruler, which spreads out the bonuses she gives you across all of the different areas, but obviously it's significantly less than just boosting one area for a larger number. You also have a bishop, a chancellor, a steward, a marshal, and a spy master. The bishop, he's the one who allows you to fabricate claims on neighboring territories, which is a really damn important thing. And he also increases piety, and you can convert countries or regions that you've just taken over and they don't have your religion to your religion. You have Chancellor, who manages foreign affairs, so he helps improve your neighbor's opinion of you, or he can do that internally and improve your vassal's opinion of you. You then have a steward who collects taxes. He can also enhance how well a city builds, so reducing the time it takes and the cost. And he can also actually spread your culture. So if your culture is not dominant in that region, he can do that. Your marshal essentially is raising your army. He can train your levies up, increase the size, increase the effectiveness. He can also increase the effectiveness and lower the cost of maintenance on your men at arms. And also he can enforce essentially the law into an area. So once you've taken an area, it might be a bit unruly. You can send your marshal in to regain control of that territory. And then you have your spy master. He helps weed out little plots against you, or helps boost plots that you want to enact on other people. He also has a nice little thing, which is find secrets. So you can select a neighboring, well, it doesn't even have to be a neighboring territory, just another territory, and he will look to find secrets that you can use as a hook to gain leverage against your enemies or a potential enemy. So with that being covered, we will now look at the lifestyle traits, which is essentially the skill points for your leader. You get them in every single category. So my one was intrigue, because that's what he seems to be good at. And they are split into 3 subcategories, which will specialize in something, and they will each give you boosts in that specific area, and being able to be as effective as possible with that kind of trait that you're focusing on. You get it in diplomacy, martial, stewardship, and learning. So every character is different. You may not have one who is high in intrigue, he's high in stewardship, and you'll get a XP boost, so to speak, in that area instead of what I had. So you could easily find that you are getting an awful lot of experience in a certain area, because that is what your character was taught in, which is what I have with this guy, and intrigue. Of course, you don't have to follow that. You can completely steer outside of it and just go, sod this, I want diplomacy. I don't want to go with intrigue. But going down the path that you are learned in, is a lot quicker and a lot more effective, because I think it's 30% boost you get towards that. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap it up, and we'll just get straight down to the outro. Right, so all in all, Crusader Kings 3 is a really bloody good game. As someone who's new to grand strategy games, especially Paradox grand strategy games, this one's been incredibly easy to learn. I did scratch my head a lot at CK2, but with 3, I mean, bearing in mind, I didn't have a lot of time in CK2, probably under 10 hours, which is nothing on a grand strategy. So coming into Crusader Kings 3, it was a nice, easy, clean UI. The tutorial was fine. Everything was pretty damn simple to find. There was only one thing I struggled to find, and that was because it was a case of me being blind. So it's definitely a really good game. It's one to check out if you're a fan of grand strategy games, and if you like this kind of setting. I will be doing a lot of it over on my Twitch channel. If you guys are interested in seeing Let's Plays, I could always go into more depth on certain leaders or something if people would be interested. Feel free to leave a comment or whatever you want really below. So thank you for hanging out with me. It's been awesome, and thank you again to Paradox for giving me the key for this. And yeah, thank you, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.